Hello, this is a very long overdue video. So yeah, I'm just going to be talking about the past couple months with my career stuff while eating some cake. Again, this video is long overdue. I just happened to have bought cake recently because it was like reduced, and you know, I don't treat myself, so I only allowed myself to buy this cake because it was reduced, and I'm only gonna eat one slice. As you can see, it was like an eighth of a sheet cake, and I put it into 6 slices, which are honestly quite large. I gave one away though, so I've eaten 3 so far, and now I'm gonna eat 1 as I talk about the past couple months. This video actually makes me a little bit nervous making it because I don't want it to come off as like hateful or starting drama whatsoever. Like, I guess the main thing about this series that I really want to do is just show you the ups and downs of life, because I mentioned in my previous video, there are times where I feel like social media is overglorified, sorry, I don't know if that's the right word, like overly glamorous, but I really just want to show that my life is not like that. Right now I'm probably at like the lowest part of my career, and I want to believe there's only going up. I want to believe things will work out. So far things are doing better than they were the past like couple of months, and yeah, even though at the same time the past couple of months were not the past couple months. It was actually quite a long time ago. But yeah, basically I quit because I had a very unpositive experience. Yeah, it was like negative. It's just a little complicated. So we are going to get into that as I eat this cake. Okay, so I wrote out a script for this video, and I should definitely be more coherent than the last video where I was talking. Yeah, it's been a long time since everything has happened. It's actually been, yeah, it's almost been 3 months since the entire thing happened, so I think I'm gonna definitely get emotional as I keep talking about things, but I'm definitely hoping to be more coherent in this video. Yeah, so let me just pull up my script and I will just begin talking about everything going on. Okay, so this one is definitely going to go more into detail than the previous video. I'm not sure how much I actually got into. That video is a mess, oh my god. The script is really long, as you can see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was right, 8 pages. Okay, so first off, I have this video organized, but you know, I'm still gonna wing it because I really want to speak from the heart, you know? So for context, in case this is your first video of mine, I guess, I am a new grad from UCLA. I graduated last year. And basically, I was pretty sudden. I don't know when I decided I was going to pursue the film and media industry. I've just loved, I mean, you know, if you see my channel, you should know. I feel like most of you come from my drama videos, but I love dramas, I love media, I love entertainment. So I kind of was realizing that like I wanted to pursue something I loved. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of like, I've always loved that stuff, but I kind of thought that it couldn't be a career, like, you know, I am second generation immigrant parents, like pursuing entertainment isn't like an option really. So I was in college pursuing consulting until if I'm being honest, I just ended up here. Like, I don't know when I made the decision that I was going to pursue film and media. Like, I just end up here. Like, I just started like trying to get internships and doing things that were like I was interested in, you know? Like, when I started YouTube, I did not start YouTube because I was like, I want to pursue YouTube as a career. I started YouTube because I wanted financial independence. And I thought content was a good way of getting that. It sounds kind of bad, right? It sounds like I'm using YouTube to like make money. But the fact that I was willing to do that to make money over like becoming a doctor to make money, you know? I was unwilling to be a doctor to make money because I wasn't passionate about it. So I think in and of itself, the fact that I thought that I wanted to start YouTube to make money, I think already showed that like, oh, I was interested in like media all along, and which is crazy, right? That happened back in 2020, and I nowhere near the thought of pursuing film and media seriously. So I can't even tell you when it happened. My sophomore year, when I switched to communications, so in college, I was thinking I'd pursue consulting. I got rejected from every single club at UCLA that was consulting. Every single one. I can literally show you emails upon emails of rejections, but that's not today's video, you know? So I was like, okay, and then at the same time, my best friend and just people around me, I think it was just hearing them talk about their majors and trying to do something they're interested in. It just made me feel honestly really bad about myself. So let me just try to eat this cake while I'm talking. So basically everyone else seemed like they were pursuing things that they actually loved, whereas, you know, me, I was doing something because people, when you don't know what to do, they tell you to go into consulting. So that is what I did, or tried to. So after enough rejections, I was like, okay, why don't I go into marketing? It should be a less competitive, you know, business thing. And then from there, I don't know, things got weird, because that's when I decided to get a film minor, and I feel like the rest is history. I ended up taking like a screenwriting class. I have a 60-minute pilot episode, you know, done, and I write all the time, you know, even the script, I wrote this. It was like 8 pages long. So honestly, I've realized that I really love to write. I really love to talk. I really like the idea of content, you know, like not even just making my own content, which sometimes can be a little bit of a struggle, especially because like I've been doing it for so long, and I think I haven't figured out how to do it in a way that I love. I might just end up talking and never eating this cake. But yeah, but I do want to be part of making something. I think that I had one experience that I kind of mentioned that I'll talk about, but I loved being a part of getting the content made. And so I don't know how much context I want to provide. But basically, yes. Okay, back to the college thing. I graduated college last year and I became unemployed, which is why I have a very short unemployed diaries series, but I'm not doing that anymore because it's too negative. Wanted to rebrand. I didn't want to be associated with that again. My idea originally was to take the worst time of my life and make it positive, but I think I'm going to just rebrand it into this Making It series because it's going to be both the positive and negatives, whereas I felt like the Unemployed Diaries just felt very negative. And also I realized that I'm going to be in and out of employment, and currently I technically do have a job, so it's also hard to say that I'm unemployed. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. So yeah, but basically I graduate college, you know, and I am feeling like at the bottom of the earth. I went to a prestigious college, obviously, and people around me, they graduated, they got full-time offers, they're working 6-figure jobs, whereas I was unemployed. And to give you a little spoiler, I have never worked a full-time job. I've never had a 9-to-5. And actually, the current job that I do have is minimum wage. So yeah, I was really, really unhappy for that time of my life. I think I actually graduated early, which is even better, right? So I graduated actually in March rather than June. And so I spent my last quarter pretty happily. I was just hanging out with people. I wasn't thinking too deeply about the job stuff. I was like trying to find a job, but like it wasn't really working out. But I was like, okay, you know, I still have some time. I ended up picking up photography. I talked a little bit about this in the previous video too. And then graduation happened, and then nothing. And this is where I started to feel really bad about myself, because then after graduation, everyone kind of left, and you know, I was in the same place, applying to hundreds of jobs. As of now, it's only been a year technically, but I've applied over 100 jobs and I did not get anything, except I did end up with one thing that I'll talk about later. But yeah, I was applying 100 jobs and I did not get anything from like the random startup in LinkedIn, you know, companies, and from the big companies that don't even give me a reply. And yeah, I just felt so stuck, because it's like you need experience to get experience, but I didn't have experience. And okay, this is when people are like, oh, you have to network. And it's just kind of like, I am socially anxious, and I'm sure there are other people that are socially anxious too. And I think some people can be very heartless, I feel like, when it comes to this. But yeah, like, I didn't want to network. I think the concept of networking with it just feels like you're getting to know someone just to use them. And I understand that's just the reality we live in, but it was really like hard for me. And even now I'm still struggling with it. I actually had my first coffee chat ever. I guess I could talk about that in this too, except this video is already so long. But yeah, so I was really struggling, and I was like full-time unemployed, no job. This is before I started any of my work. And yeah, I was just really depressed out of my mind, was doing this content thing. And then once I moved into my new apartment, then I was like, okay, it's just time to find a minimum wage job. I talked a little bit about this, but then this is when I started. I work at a tennis place now. It's actually minimum wage. I just work in like the shop, and they just sell tennis stuff, right? And I'm just there checking in people to play tennis, but I was not actually playing tennis. I originally applied because I wanted to coach and give lessons, but that didn't really work out. This is actually a little bit less coherent than I thought it'd be. So yeah, so I gave you the timeline of March to June. I'm really just chilling, enjoying my last senior year with my friends, doing stuff, and then applying for jobs here and there, but working on photography. I was doing grad photos at the time. And then June onward, I think my lease ends July 31st. So from June, after that, I was completely unemployed, and then this is also when I got busy with apartment hunting, which I also have a video. So yeah, I was scrambling like really by myself to do that. Basically, I was really unhappy, and I really didn't want to. This is when I was not working at all, and I really didn't want to acknowledge the fact that I would have to work another minimum wage job, because I thought my junior year, my minimum wage job would be my last, because senior year I had an internship, unpaid, but I was like, oh yeah, I'll probably just get like a full-time job. Actually, I thought that was gonna give me a full-time job. My first internship, I thought they were gonna give me a return offer. They didn't. So yeah, I was hesitant, but then we moved into the new apartment, and I was finally like, okay, there's no excuse for me not to work a minimum wage job, because originally my original excuse was the fact that I was moving, so I'd rather work somewhere that I would live close to or something. Like, I don't want to like work at the Trader Joe's in Westwood if I was going to move, because I'd rather work at the Trader Joe's close to where I moved. I didn't end up working at Trader Joe's because they actually rejected me. And then this is when I actually get 3 jobs at once, all in August. So my lease starts in August, and I get 3 jobs in August. As I told you, I was not working at all. So I want to acknowledge that I am very financially privileged. My parents paid for my tuition. I am debt-free. Yeah, they were paying my rent, and it was really my own decision that I thought I should like now pay my own rent. And so currently I pay for everything, except I give myself a grocery stipend from my parents, because my parents are pretty well off. And this is a whole separate conversation too, because I don't have a great relationship with my family, which is why financially it's a little complicated, because yes, I am wealthy, but my relationship with my parents isn't so great that I want to rely on them financially. Like, I've worked since I was 16 years old because I didn't want to use my parents' money. Like, to me, my parents' money is my parents' money. So my parents are rich and I'm poor is kind of how I see it, but I'm lucky enough that in the case that I'm like going to be homeless, I do have financial, like, my parents will provide that financial means, just at the cost of a lot of gaslighting. But you know, so yeah, my point with this was the fact that I was really like privileged to be able to work. I was really privileged to be able to not work a minimum wage job up until then, but once I started the new lease, I told myself like, hey, I am going to pay everything by myself. I mean, obviously my parents are still covering insurance and my phone bill. I'm actually curious to how much my phone bill is, because I just might start paying for it myself. So yeah, this is where the minimum wage job comes in, because I'm like, I need to pay rent. I'm not going to allow myself to use my parents' money and continue to be unemployed. And the thing is, this is also the reason that I was very hesitant to do an unpaid internship, because it is such a privilege to be able to do an unpaid internship. So April, May, June, July, most of August too, like about 5 months, I am unemployed, depressed out of my mind, just like applying to jobs like every single day and working on content in the meantime. And yeah, I didn't really like it because I feel like I couldn't focus full in on content. Right now I feel like I've definitely been able to focus a lot more into content because I'm not doing anything else. So yeah, I feel like my content was suffering, and I was suffering because the only thing I did all day was half-ass my content, which made me unhappy. And I was applying for jobs that never replied and heard back, and I spent hours on applications. Like, I get people say use ChatGPT and like there's a faster way to do it, but I just didn't want to do that. Like, I really wanted a job, so I thought, oh, writing it myself would do better or whatever else, you know? So like, even looking for jobs takes time, and applying to all those jobs and just filling it out. Yeah, like, it was very, very demoralizing. yeah, I was in a very bad place mentally at that time. And so I finally, August comes around, the month is like ending, and I'm like, okay, like I really just need to find a job. So this is where I get three all at once. And so the first one, I actually already talked about in my previous video, so I will direct you there. Basically, I got an stipend-based internship, and they ended up kind of letting me go, firing me, but I also held some responsibility because at this time I had two other jobs, and I was like, this is the least important thing I'm doing. It was like a creative agency. They were running an Instagram, and I don't want to do social media, which is weird, right? I'd rather work on YouTube because it's like long form social media. Like I hate TikTok. I do have one, and you never see me posting there because I hate TikTok. Like I am a big fan of long form content. That's why my videos are 30 minutes to an hour long, and that's the content I consume, and I realize that that's just the kind of content I want to make. Like if I could shorten it, I would, but I just can't talk too much to be able to. So, you know, we're pursuing authenticity as much as we can out here, or at least I am. And yeah, it just might not be for everyone, but you know, I want to definitely show the version of myself. There's just story after story because I grew up like faking it a lot, and so now in my life I don't want to fake it anymore. So that is that. So basically, yes. So job number one actually is the internship that I already got fired from. If you want more details into that, that's in a separate video. And so I mentioned in that video that I did get the best job that I could have ever possibly landed. So to talk about that real quick, you know, I'm talking about content. So my friend is a huge fan of this YouTube team channel. Yeah, so she sends me that they are hiring. So I apply. I make this video. I hate when they ask you to make a video introducing yourself. I am so nervous. Those things are a minute long and they take me an hour to film because of how nervous, how badly I want the job, you know, all that combined. So yeah, I end up like, okay, I just need to submit something. Otherwise, I'm never going to submit something ever. So I'm already just like, I'm submitting just to submit. I don't think I'm going to get this job. Surprising enough, I land an interview. But the thing is, it was not just an interview. They also provided an assessment. And basically, it's just kind of like brainstorming ideas. It wasn't anything like impossible to do. So yeah, I was just brainstorming ideas, talking about like editing things, you know, things like that was like, honestly, I could handle like, I could answer all of it. It wasn't something, it was like a technical kind of assessment. And, you know, I have some experience because I also had an internship in the media film industry before. So, you know, I had some sort of experience with the whole YouTube thing. And then during the interview, yeah, it was just testing my ideas, and if I'm being honest, the interview I thought did not go well at all. I thought I was not going to get the job. The interview was spent going over my ideas and kind of like coming up with flaws in my plan and trying to see how I think I would navigate the problems and see if I could come up with something better. So yeah, I feel like it was really testing the way I thought. And yeah, I don't know, at the end of the day, I just ended up having to say that like, oh, my ideas are bad. Like, I don't have anything to refute. Like, they would come up with a flaw with my plan, and I was just trying my best to defend it, my plan, and then ultimately I was just like, yeah, you know what, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know, like, you're right, it's not a great plan, I should think about this more, is kind of like how the interview went. And like, after it was an hour-long interview, by the way, really long. I did it to the best of my ability, and after some time passed, I was hit with this overwhelming emotion of just like, damn, like, I am not good enough as, just like, I felt like a human, you know, because I've really struggled to make friends. This is a separate video too, but I've really struggled to make friends growing up. And then I think being hit with the reality in college that like, oh, I'm not I'm not cool enough to be led into these clubs, because a lot of it just was who you're friends with. Like, a lot of it, I would say, is not based off your competency. It's really just like who you know. And like, you know, you're just being evaluated by your peers. Your peers let you into these clubs. So yeah, they let their friends in and they don't really care whether or not you're like good. Like, and it's honestly just a college club. So it is crazy. The elitism and the exclusivity of UCLA clubs, like, is actually ridiculous. And it's part of the reason why I did not love my UCLA experience, which is also a video I can make for a separate day. So anyways, yeah, so I was really struggling on the social side. And then obviously I was struggling as a professional when, I don't know if you can tell my personality, I'm a bit of an uptight person, and generally I'm a pretty hard worker. I mean, I made it to UCLA, but yeah, so like being hit with the like, wow, I'm so incompetent, And I was just thinking, you know, someone out there in this world is able to give the most genius idea, no flaws, but that person isn't me. And I don't even know how to get there because I can't even get the opportunity to get my foot in the door and like try things. So I cried. I cried after my interview. I spent the rest of the day moping because I was just like so sad and overwhelmed of like I'm never going to get a job. And then I got the job. So yeah, so I got the job. And yeah, that was honestly the greatest thing that I think could have happened to me ever, because this was something that I really, really wanted to do. I was working with a team that I believed in the content that they made in. It was made to a really great quality. I really respected the people that I worked with as individuals and as professionals. I thought I was set for life. I really did. And basically, it was not everything that I imagined. And that's kind of the lesson that I will tell you that I learned. So anyways, I end up working this job and I'm having a really hard time. I'm running like social media channels and I'm doing a lot of different things, and basically I was just being told that I was doing nothing right. Yeah, I don't really want to get into the nitty-gritty because I really want this to stay private because I don't want to stir up any drama. But I want to share my story and the lessons that I've learned, which is like the reason I'm making this video. Like I don't hate the people that I work with, but I will say that I was having a really hard time because I was getting a lot of negative feedback. Like I was receiving no positive feedback. And so this is something I actually talked to my therapist about, and it's like a little mix of these feelings of just like, one hand, I am new grad, like obviously I am going to lack, like I'm not going to be a 30-year-old experienced professional, like I'm going to have a lot of shortcomings. And I feel like it was not an environment in which I felt comfortable growing. I felt very scared. I felt like if I made a mistake, it was the end of the world. And obviously I thought of that myself because I am hard on myself, but I just felt the environment in which I was working, I also still felt like, oh, I'm not good enough. And I didn't feel like they didn't have the time, and they just didn't have the means to just like train me. And so yeah, I was getting a lot of really negative feedback, and at first it was really hard. Like I cried in my very first one-on-one ever. I went down a rabbit hole of just like, I felt so embarrassed and ashamed of myself for crying in front of my boss. Like who does that? I felt just like, oh, so small, and I just felt so pathetic that I couldn't keep my emotions out of my work. And basically my boss then was like, okay, we will, like, I'll try my best to like make this a better, like more supportive environment for you. And so like I feel like that already speaks to the character of who I was working with, because they were willing, they like apologized, and were wanted to be more welcoming. And the thing is, like, genuinely I just didn't feel any better. And I think one thing is I really struggle to communicate my thoughts, and I also struggle to, I think, manage my emotions. I've struggled with like anxiety and depression for like my entire life, and I think that in combination of what I was going through, my self-esteem is actually also on the bottom. So the fact that I was being told all the time about how bad I was at things really, really affected my self-esteem. So I was probably the most mentally unwell I've ever been in my life while working that job. I cried really frequently because like the feedback that I received, and just like my entire sense of self. Like I thought, you know, like I've done YouTube for a while, I've like do photos, I've like learned and self-taught myself a lot of things. So I just felt like I was just completely useless. And just like I felt like I was behind everyone else, even though I like haven't had any experience. But yeah, I constantly was feeling that. So my self-esteem dropped. I was constantly anxious about underperforming all the time. Every single time I submitted like my assignments or tasks, I was just worried that it would not go well. And yeah, the anxiety was really, really bad. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Um, I am going to make a video about dieting, and I'm not gonna lie that a large chunk of it was working this job. And the thing is, it was like mainly remote, so I dealt with tasks, and I had to like, part of it was having to reply fast. It was like part of the job description. But I honestly ended up feeling like I had no work-life balance because with social media things, there's like due dates, right? So you have to get everything in by the due date, and it was just like a weekly thing, and I feel like we were just constantly behind, and so I had no time to do the work. And what's interesting is I'm working my other two jobs at this time, because at the time I was working the internship that I ended up quitting that pretty soon though. But then the thing is about this job that I had with the creator, with the YouTube thing, that one, it did not pay me enough to pay rent, so I needed a third job. So even though it was relevant, exactly in the right industry, everything that I would have wanted to do, I had to find a third job. So this is where I'm working my tennis job, which I guess I could talk about a little later. So I'm working that amidst while doing the content thing. And so anyways, yeah, it's not going well. And it hits a point, at first I'm like, okay, it'll get better. And then it doesn't. I thought it was just the learning curve, but I think it wasn't getting any better. I didn't feel like I was ever getting better at anything. And so we were doing like projects, and so after I wrapped a project, I was like, I had a last meeting, I guess, to like just go over everything in my experience, and I was like, I just don't want to continue. And so technically I did quit. The thing is, the project that I was working on, the next one hasn't started yet, so technically it's just over. But we had to talk about this, and they plan to hire someone else, so I'm pretty in a meeting. And so yeah, in a meeting they talked about hiring someone else, so I'm pretty sure that it's like I quit. But yeah, like I was like, I wrapped up that project, and then I was like, I don't think I want to continue for the next one. So yeah. But yeah, I guess the main point isn't actually what happened, and that's why I don't want to go into the details of it. Like, what matters to me is what I learned is, at the end of the day, the dream might not actually be the dream. Because, I was actually more stressed, anxious, and depressed than I've ever been while actually working the dream job than when I was just unemployed looking for jobs. And I think that just really hit me because, I started this industry because I wanted to pursue something that makes me happy. But obviously it wasn't making me happy. So if it wasn't making me happy, it isn't worth it. Like, on paper, that job was everything that I ever wanted. It was exactly what I wanted to do. I still believe that the content that they produced is great. Like, I like it, and I was really glad and entertained to be a part of it. But like, the way I felt while working with it was not worth it. And even getting to that reality was really, really hard for me because I didn't deserve to quit. Like, logically, I only worked that job for 2.5 months, maybe. Yeah, it like 3 months, and it feels like I've had people tell me that they thought I quit too soon and that I need to like toughen it up, and I just don't know why I have to, like, I mean, I've spent a lot of my life like depressed already, and it's just kind of like, how much suffering do I have to go through before it ends? And I just didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, what would I get from sucking it up? Because at that point, I feel like I wasn't in a position to learn anything new because I was barely learning the basics. I wasn't able to work on like more important, interesting tasks because I wasn't able to handle the small, like, boring tasks. And so that was my biggest lesson of like, the dream might not be the dream. And to me, it was really helpful because, there are actually other dream jobs I have out there. Like, obviously working with like Korean entertainment things, but then it makes me realize that like, hey, like, I'm so jealous of those people working in those industries, but you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like I could absolutely hate the job that I'm like doing because, even if the job itself is good, if the environment or just like what you're actually doing in relation to the job don't make you happy, yeah, it just isn't worth it anymore. And so to me, I don't regret working that job whatsoever. I think part of it is it allowed me to gain some sort of like pride that like, oh, I'm not useless. I'm not like that pathetic, I guess, because, you know, this person was willing to hire me, and I don't believe in myself, but I believe in that person. So if they decide to hire me, that meant that I was good enough to be hired. Obviously I didn't perform as well, but technically they didn't fire me. So I guess that goes for something. And I mean, I ended on positive terms with the employer. They thought that I would be successful one day given like my work ethic. I don't know if they're just saying that to be nice, because yeah, that's also possibly true. But you know, at the very core, I think the one thing that I can't take away from that, I can't ignore from that experience, is the fact that like, yeah, the job hunt is really just, it's a mixture of luck. It's like a lot of things going on that sometimes are just out of your control. And it's not necessarily a reflection of you, because this job, I feel like, was way more prestigious, more interesting. It sticks out on my resume more than any of those random startup companies on LinkedIn that I got rejected from, you know? So like, the fact that I landed this job really meant a lot to me. It meant a lot for my self-esteem, even though it dropped as I was working the job. But yeah, it also means a lot to be able to tell people like, hey, I did this really cool, interesting thing. I was able to land that thing too. So yeah, I don't regret it at all. And I'm glad that it happened, because now I have this like, this experience. I kind of like learned what I want a little bit more. And actually that goes into the main thing that I'm kind of abiding by right now, and is the fact that I am no longer applying for jobs at the moment, because I don't think it's worth it to work a job that you're not interested in anymore. Because I was literally working a job that I kind of half loved, but the environment was bad. So, and actually what's interesting is the current job I'm working, I love the environment, but I don't actually love the job itself. So what that means, the only way to go up from here is to love the job and love the environment I'm working in. And for me, I mean, I talked about being financially privileged. I grew up pretty wealthy and very, very unhappy. So now, you know, wealth means like nothing to me. We grew up pretty frugal, so like even though we're well off, we didn't spend money like we were well off, because my parents are, I don't know, immigrant parents, they just don't really like spending money. So I've never been someone that like spent money. So I guess right now I'm not making a lot of money, and obviously I can't work a minimum wage job probably for the rest of my life. Right now it's enough for what I need. Like I don't need to spend money at the moment, so it's like fine at the moment. I don't plan on starting a family anytime soon, because I don't have a partner, and I might never have a partner. But I think it's definitely helped me, I guess, come to terms with my reality a little bit, because yeah, I'm literally in the same place that I was before that job, unemployed. Or technically I'm employed, okay? But working a minimum wage job. So technically my career advancement isn't getting any further. This is just kind of a little life lesson that I experienced that I want to share, and I hope that someone will get something out of it. I don't really know. So yeah, we're just experimenting still, okay, on the channel. But yeah, so my plans now is like what I am now going to talk about. And basically, yeah, so I have just continued to work my minimum wage tennis job, and I am now much more mentally stable. So for the new year, I am trying to go to pickleball, and as a tennis player, I don't despise pickleball. I know most tennis players do, but I don't. I actually am now playing in a tennis league for the tennis club that I work at. So that's been a lot of fun. We won our first match, and my next match is this Sunday. Might have already happened at the time that this video comes up, but yeah, I've actually been really loving getting back into tennis. I love tennis. I grew up with it, you know. I think I mentioned it a little bit in my previous video, but yes, I love tennis. So I'm also, yes, I'm trying to do a little bit more. I'm actually gonna start the coffee chatting thing in this year. I went to my very first one, and it was super, super positive, and I don't know, I think I'm just gonna talk about that in a different video, because that's a different thing, you know, for another time. But yes, I had my first coffee chat with someone. She was so sweet, so great. And yeah, she really inspired me to keep doing it, because I feel like that's just what you need to do in this career. So there's that. I plan on going to pickleball. Part of it is a little bit of a networking thing as well, because networking is really the main thing. Like, you don't need to be competent, you just need to know someone. Because everything can be taught, really. But yes, that nepotism sadly is the way of this industry, and yeah, you either drown like me or you just do it. So yes, I'm going to pickleball, trying to get some more exercise in the new year, because all I do is go to work and I don't do anything else with my life, trying to enrich my life, you know? So pickleball, I said that like already 4 times now. So pickleball, I'm trying to go into run club, and I hate running. But yes, I want to get more in shape for tennis. So really, run club is just for tennis. And obviously there's the whole meet people. If I don't meet people, whatever, I just need to run and get skinny. Yes, I still eat cake while I'm on my diet, and that's also a video for another day. And I really am not looking for jobs right now. Again, I mean, I browse LinkedIn once every so often. My friends that are into YouTubers always send me over stuff. I just wish they were hiring anything but an editor. Like, I don't want to edit. God dang it. Like, I edit my own videos already, so yeah, that's kind of annoying. I want to write a book this year. Don't know if I'll actually get it done, but if I don't work a real job, that is really the goal. I'm trying to consider this as a gap year where I just mess around, do whatever I want before, I don't know, I end up caving and just working a 9 to 5, depressed out of my mind, you know? Or maybe I'll find one that works, I don't know, but so yeah, so for now, obviously focusing on the content thing. I am monetized now, so that's really great. Obviously I don't make enough that I should be doing this full-time, and technically I'm not, because I am working my tennis job, but it feels like I'm really doing this full-time in a way. So yeah, creator and tennis player, even though that is not the advice that you would want to follow. You should not, I mean, people do not tell you to work minimum wage jobs while pursuing content. They tell you to keep your job, but I don't actually have a real big time job, so I guess it doesn't really matter. What else do I want to do? I want to start a blog. I want to potentially start a podcast. I've talked about this before, you know, I talk a lot. I talk for many, many hours too. A podcast might be interesting. What other... Oh, I might potentially go back to school. I guess these are some thoughts. Okay, the schooling thing is, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I really hate school. Like, I don't like sitting in a room listening to someone talk to me for an hour. I'd rather do the talking for an hour. And so that is just out of desperation. Another out of desperation is I go yeet over to Korea, because clearly I'm really interested in Asian entertainment. So I do think I will end up living in Korea, at least for some part of my youth. I do not want to settle down there. But yeah, so I would love to work in their industry one day. And write a K-drama, you know, even though I'm still not fluent in Korean. Learning Korean and Chinese are also on my bucket list. So yeah, I think there's a lot to do actually for 2025, and so I'm excited. I'm excited to where this channel is also going to go. I really didn't think I would ever grow. Like, I thought it was just gonna be like 100 subscribers per like month, and then not even month, like 100 subscribers per year, and then like after 10 years I'd have like 1,000, you know. So I thought it was gonna grow like that, but obviously I got like 4,000 I think of you from my drama video alone, so very appreciative. And so yeah, I just want to continue this. I want to continue building this community, because that's the reason I started content in the first place. I'm really happy about the Discord that I started, because yeah, I mean, the main point again for me to make content was to build community. I really struggled with that growing up, which is why I wanted to pursue content, because I personally felt a lot less alone when I didn't have friends growing up, because I watched a bunch of content. And you know, especially like Running Man. I watched Running Man for over 10 years now. I started watching it in 2010, I think. So it's been like 15 years now that I've been watching it. And you know, they just feel like longtime friends, especially when I grew up having no friends. So yes, I have these parasocial relationships. And so yeah, that's always why I want to make content. I just hope that you can feel a lot less alone. And so that is just the message I want to send today. And so that is all for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.